part of leadership and core council. We're just a local coven here, and we are partnered with our sister coven, Elder Grove. That's why I'm here. Sorry, I am very nervous. I have not done public speaking since I was in college, and it's been a while.
You got this, Gaby.
You know, this is the energy you're going to get. You're welcome. The presentation is on altars. I'm going to talk kind of just the basics, but there may be some things that practitioners who have been doing this for a while are still going to be able to learn. I just kind of like did a deep dive over the past couple weeks, so let's get into it. First off, just defining what an altar is. The technical definition is a raised structure or place used for worship or prayer. So that brings to mind like temples, churches. Everyone kind of has an idea in their head of what an altar looks like. But when we're talking about practically what is it, it's just a space that you have set aside for your magic, for your deity, for your spirits. It's an intentional choice that this is my magical space. I am a practical magic practitioner, so like honestly, it can be anything. It can be a shelf. It can be your medicine cupboard. You can put it on a table. It's just about where do I practice my magic? Where do I worship my deities? Where do I talk to spirit? It is functionally the bridge between our physical world, this physical realm, and the divine. Talking about things that we can put on our altar, as we work with witchcraft, we mainly work with elements. Almost every branch of witchcraft in some function or form works with the elements. So having things on your altar to represent at least the 4 elements, if not 5, is a really great idea. Personally, I've done that with differently colored crystals. So for instance, for spirit, I would have a purple crystal. For water, I might have a blue crystal, air, yellow, and earth green, kind of, just functioning that way. If you want something that is like specific, for earth, you could do crystals, obviously. You could do dirt, a vial or a little bowl of dirt. You could do bones, especially bones from land animals, and you can do wood. These are all things that kind of come from the earth, are of the earth. In air,
Speak up.
Here, saying hello. We can do feathers, and as evidenced here, air does whatever it wants. So if you are using feathers, you're going to want to somehow attach it to your altar so that it stays, especially if you have kids or pets, and your altar is in a space where they can get to. Tape it down, put something on it. I have a feather here, and I have something down. So, blue dots. Blue dots are great. For fire, if you want a perpetual option, you are not going to light something on fire and leave it on your altar because that is a bad idea and we don't want to light our houses on fire. You can do a candle that is unlit. You can do incense that is unlit and just have that there on your altar space. Or you can do even matches are great, or things that come from fire like a lava rock. These are great options. Moving on to water. Straight up a bowl of water, but obviously evaporation is the thing that exists. So you would have to be like refilling it constantly, and that's not even to bring in like bugs and pet hair and dirt and stuff. So I do recommend a closed container. A bottle or a vial is great. If you are locally sourcing your water, I recommend boiling it. A lot of Lubbock water is gross and sewagey, so you might not want to bottle that and see what grows in it. Just a thought. As far as spirit, the 5th element, you kind of bring spirit. Spirit is not something that is containable, right? It's everywhere. It's all around us. We are beings of energy, and energy is a constant in our lives. So you kind of are spirit when you come to your altar. That said, if you wanted to do the alchemical symbol and like carve that into something and place that in the middle of your altar, that is an option. The alchemical symbol for spirit is a circle with a plus sign in it. Moving on to more tools. There are also tools that represent the elements. So if you're like, I don't want clutter in my space, you can just use your tools to represent the elements as well. The pentacle is a really, really useful tool. pentacle. It does represent earth. The pentacle is often kind of misconsidered to be the same as the pentagram. They are not the same thing, although often a pentagram is on a pentacle. It's the 5-pointed star is the pentagram, but a pentacle is a round dish or bowl, and it can have any type of symbol in it that you would want. You could put an astrological symbol. You could put a rune. You could put Oum in there, and whatever represents to you what you want it to. The pentacle is used for charging your items, so even you could get a selenite bowl, and that would be a great way to charge your items. You're just bringing that energy in. You're kind of connecting with the spirit world and saying, hey, like, I need energy in these items. I need to be able to use these. So you would just put your items on there, charge it up, and use them for your ritual. They can be homemade. Again, I'm really big on practical magic. I'm a big DIY gal. You could take a paper plate if you wanted to and draw whatever on it and just consecrate it with the elements. So when I mean consecrate, I mean like call on the elements to bless your paper plate. The book that I did use for my research has a really nice ritual. It is mostly Wicca based, but if anyone is interested in it, you can talk to me and I'll get it sent to you. I will name the book at the end also if you want to write it down and buy it for yourself. It was about $15, so it's not like it's expensive. Another tool, I don't have one here, but is the athame. The athame is a type of knife. That said, it's not usually sharp. It does have a double edge. And the reason for that being that when you're using the athame, you're usually using it to invoke, in which case you would move it to the left. And then without twisting your hand, it's double-edged, so you don't have to twist in order to banish. It just makes it a much more practical use. The athame is usually black-handled, and they're pretty easy to find, honestly, just Google it. So, life ain't hard. They are not used to cut physical things. It is not a practical use item in that way, but it is a practical use item in the spiritual way. You can use it to cast a circle, so you would just point it forward and you would walk around your space and envision it creating that circle around your space, creating that protection. And again, invoking the elements, moving to the left, banishing the elements at the end, making it a pentagram to the right. It is typically a symbol of air, unless you practice Gardnerian Wicca, in which case it would be a symbol of fire. Now, I don't know a lot about Gardnerian Wicca, so don't ask me a ton of questions about that. I just wanted to mention it. If you do have children or pets, blade covers are a good idea, just to keep things safe. If you want a knife that will cut in the physical realm, you're going to be looking at a bowline. A bowline usually has a white handle and has one edge that's sharp. You would use this for like cutting up your ingredients, or you could use it to cut cords and cord cutting rituals if you didn't want fire to do it for you. Another wonderful tool, the wand. Everyone is familiar with witches and wands. Everyone's seen Harry Potter, or at least knows about it. Wands are actually a practical tool. They are not just fun and fiction. They are used for summoning, and as well as enhancing your own intention, your own energy. So they essentially act as a conduit. When you're using your wand, you want to use your dominant hand. I'm left-handed, so don't look at me funny. And you would just send your energy through yourself, through your dominant arm into the wand, and then direct it where you want it to go. So it helps you be really directional about your magic. It helps you enhance your magic. It can be made out of anything. It can be made out of metal. It can be made out of wood. Everyone's familiar with wood. But like, I have a spoon. Like, that is my wand. I use a kitchen spoon. It's great. I love it. It's beautiful. It can really be anything. It does represent fire, or if you're a Gardnerian Wicca practitioner, it would be air. Then the chalice. I do have a lovely chalice here. Sacred Space over here, Meg, is selling some altar tools, and she lovingly let me use this. The chalice represents water. Now, not everyone uses a chalice functionally. Some people just use it for the representation of water, or some Wicca practitioners will use it to represent the mother's womb. So that's really great. If you are more of like a Christian witch and you do communion in your practice, you would use your chalice for communion. But it's usually other tools, the Basum, the broom, again, witches' brooms. Basum is used to clean your space, yes, but you can also use it to clean your energy in your space. So you can waft it in the air to kind of remove all that negative stuff and all that juju and get it out of your area before you do your magic. Also the cauldron. These are lots of stereotypical witch things. It's because we actually use them. The cauldron, you can use it to make brews, yes. Another use also is you can put water in it and use it to scry. So if you don't have a scrying mirror and you feel like you need to do some scrying, fill it up with some water. You can also do other liquids, like if you wanted to do cranberry juice, you could do cranberry juice. But you'll just look at it, wait for it to kind of still, and use that for your scrying. It can also be used similarly to the chalice to represent water or the mother's womb. A mortar and pestle is just, everyone knows what these look like, right? They're a good practical tool to have available to you, especially if you need to grind herbs for any ritual that you're doing. It's just nice to have it nearby. And then an altar cloth. Yes, they add personality, they kind of make you look cool, but on top of that, they also add a special reverence to the area. Especially if you have a deity altar or a spirit altar or something for your ancestors, putting something down that they would like and being like, this is your space, I respect you in this space, is a really, really good way to honor them. On top of that, it adds a certain protection to your altar space, and it makes it much easier to clean because you can just fold it up and do one of these. It's like a really cool tablecloth trick. Other useful things to have around: candle holders, makes it easier to clean up wax. A hot plate for your cauldron can be really good, especially if you are making brews that require you to light fire underneath it. That's a really good option. A nearby disposal container, so if you have like a trash can or some sort of box near you that you can put your waste in, that's great, especially if you practice baneful magic. You do have items often with baneful magic where it's like you need to dispose of this and you need to get it out of your house. Having a container ready for that is really, really smart, really, really important. You don't want any of that bad stuff remaining in your space, and you would want to clear and cleanse your area after that. Having matches, very useful, or a lighter. I mean, we're always lighting stuff on fire. If not actual things, then incense. A candle snuffer. Again, I'm going to harp on this a ton. Do not leave a lit flame unattended. It is a terrible idea, especially if you have children or pets. Just don't do it. Trays for offerings are also really great. I have this lovely tray here. If you're leaving food offerings, it just helps it be easier to clean up afterwards because you don't want to be dealing with crumbs everywhere on your space. I mean, an altar cloth helps with that, but still, just make your life easier, honestly. Incense, great to have. I have this lovely bundle here. This is a Wildcraft bundle that Foxing and Faye is selling these. She made these from her garden. They're really, really nice. Just have a bundle of incense around and waft it in your space. It functions functionally like a basum does. So you can use that as your basum. I have, again, altar tools here from Sacred Space. Make sure you check that out. And I also have candles. Candles are great to have around. This is a little ritual candle from the Twisted Sisters over there. If you're looking for a one-use candle to use, these are great. But you can, of course, also have a candle holder and stick one of these tall candles in there, when you're doing anything with candle work. But candles are great to always have on hand. White candles can represent anything. Color magic is very important, so if you're like, I want to practice some baneful magic, you're probably going to go for black. If you're like, I really want to work with like fire and passion and romance, you're probably going to go in the red area. Once we get into more like love, you're going to go into the pink area. But white is really versatile. So if you just want to have some white candles around, just to be like, maybe I need to do an emergency spell, have a little box of white candles. Chime candles are pretty cheap on Amazon, just saying. There are different types of altars. I've mentioned a few of them throughout this, but obviously there's the ritual altar where you perform your magic. There are also divination altars, so you can have altars that are strictly for scrying, strictly for using your tarot cards, strictly for like if you're scrying from a crystal ball, because yes, that is a thing that people do. I know it's a stereotypical thing. There are reasons for these stereotypes. Deity altars, you would put offerings on there. seasonal altars. I want to encourage you to kind of like move your perspective here. When you decorate your home, you are creating a seasonal altar. So you are kind of worshiping the season that you're in when you decorate for Thanksgiving, when you decorate for fall, when you decorate for Christmas. If you do Christmas, I don't know. We do you, but you do you. So when you're decorating your home, you're creating an altar space for that season in your house. So like you're not defined to one singular place, always. And then, of course, altars for the dead. The area we live in, we're all pretty familiar with Dia de los Muertos. If you do any ancestral work at all, having an altar for your ancestors is a really great idea. You can put things like, these are typically like heirloom items. You can put heirloom items there. If you have a granddad who really liked a particular type of snuff, you would grab that type of snuff and put that on there. Pictures are great. It's just a way for you to kind of like honor those who came before you and those in your lives from before. Travel altars are also great, and I'm going to touch on those a little bit more here as we move into talking about safety. Again, harping on it, no lit candles left unattended. I will come to your house and eat you. Don't do it. On top of that, if you are a closeted practitioner, you can do a box. You can do a travel altar. And so it's just a box. You put all your tools in there when you're done, close it up, hide it under your bed, hide it on a shelf, hide it in a closet. It's a really great way for you to still have an altar in your space without being like, oh my God, I have to clean, my mother-in-law is coming over. It's really good to have that, especially if you are closeted. And also if you have kids or pets and they have like ready access to your table, again, blade covers if you do have like a bowline or a knife that has a sharp edge, but also put them in a box. It's a great option. Or even build a shelf, and your shelf where they can't reach it is your altar space then, where you can take things down and then put it on your actual practitioner altar to use and then place it back up. That is what I do. I also have a closed altar space, so like it's a little door that opens. It's great. No one looks in there. It's like my medicine cabinet. It's a good option. And then I got most of my research from the Witch's Altar, the Craft, Lore, and Magical Sacred Spaces. That's written by Jason Mankey and Laura Tempest Zakroff. And then also from pagangrimoire.com. That's grimoire, grimoire.com. That's also a pretty good tool I found. They have a lot of weekly blogs about different types of witchcraft practices. So if you just want to check those out in general, good idea. And that's it. So I'll open up for questions, comments, concerns. Thank you. Dope. I feel better now that I'm done.